strong winds and storm surges from Hurricane Hermine have started lashing Florida's northern Gulf Coast. 130-kilometer-per-hour winds are expected to make landfall in Tallahassee later. The hurricane is then expected to move inland, then northeast along the coast of the United States. The effects might be felt as far north as New Jersey. Well, Steve Mort is in Orlando and has more on the storm, which has been described as life-threatening by the state's governor. Steve, good to speak to you. So what's the latest position of this storm?
Well, the latest is that we understand from the National Hurricane Center the storm is coming on shore. The edge of the eye of this hurricane is now coming on shore in what's called Florida's Big Bend. That's the part of the state where it just takes off to the west, just below the state's capital, Tallahassee. We understand at the moment that about 32,000 people in the capital, Tallahassee, are without electricity at this time. Obviously, very strong winds are battering that part of the state, but throughout the day, the Gulf Coast of Florida has seen very strong bands of rain moving through. A hurricane, of course, looks a little bit like a spiral from above, and those bands of rain have been moving through onto the coast and here inland to Orlando. We've seen bands of rain throughout the evening here and pretty gusty winds. Inland in this part of the state, we're likely to see the worst effects of this storm during the day on Friday, but at the moment, the eye of the storm, as we understand at the moment, coming on shore in the Big Bend of Florida.
And Steve, this is the first hurricane that will make landfall in Florida for 11 years, as I understand it. What are the main concerns for the residents, and how prepared are authorities to deal with this?
Well, authorities are pretty prepared here in Florida, but it must be said that, as you mentioned, it's been 11 years since one of these storms hit the state, and officials here often refer to something called hurricane amnesia, where people simply forget how bad it is. Electricity gone out for weeks, that kind of thing. And it's been that long, and the state has grown since then. Many people have moved into Florida. They're not familiar with hurricanes. They're not familiar with having a hurricane plan. So the governor of the state has really talked this up, calling this life-threatening, urging people to get ready. Flooding is one of the major concerns to people's homes. Sandbags have been handed out in many counties. A state of emergency has been put in place in 51 counties, and what that does is it allows authorities to free up resources should there be extensive damage, so they can move in and initiate rescue, repairs, that kind of thing in short order after the storm moves through.
And Steve, I'm going to ask you to put your weatherman hat on for now. Where's Hermine likely to go next? We showed a graphic earlier that said it was going to track up the east coast. Will it still have as much strength as if it makes that kind of landfall, or will it lose some power as it tracks its way across the United States?
Well, it's moving through very warm water at the moment. Of course, Florida's quite far south, and the waters off the coast of Florida are very warm, and that fuels the convection that gives the hurricanes its power. As it moves over land, it's likely to break up a little bit, but what we're seeing is it maintaining that tropical storm strength, and that's still pretty strong as it moves across the peninsula, across Georgia, and back out into the Atlantic again. The Atlantic waters are a little cooler, but we are expecting tropical storm force winds to track up the coast through the Carolinas, through Virginia, just around the capital, Washington, D.C., and then into the New Jersey area. So this could be an event, certainly a rain event for the eastern United States for some time to come.
Okay, Steve Mort for us in Florida. Thank you for now.